More updates on the local COVID-19 situation. Bracebridge's chamber official talks about supporting local business. And early on continues to support families online. All that and more coming up right now. Welcome to Cogeco News for March 24th. I'm James Bowler with what's happening in your community. Our top story, 4 new cases of COVID-19 confirmed in the Simcoe-Muskoka District Health Unit. During a conference call with the media earlier this afternoon, Dr. Charles Gardner confirmed a woman in her 70s from Orillia and a man from Simcoe County in his 50s had both contracted the virus. The woman was infected from within the community, according to Gardner, and the man had recently traveled to the U.S. Dr. Gardner also informed the media 2 more infections had been confirmed. However, the details of those cases could not be released at the time of the briefing. At this point, there have still been no confirmed cases discovered in Muskoka. He's also asking people to change the usage of social distancing to physical distancing to really sell the point of what is expected of community members. And meanwhile, the OPP has announced its first within ranks presumptive case of COVID-19. The officer serves the Nipissing West detachment, but the rest of the details are being withheld to respect their privacy. The OPP was reportedly made aware of the diagnosis on March 21st. Joining me from his Ottawa office is MP Scott Aitchison. And Scott, thank you very much for taking the time today. Scott, just from a local perspective, I know you've sent out a few messages, which I'm sure people have appreciated. What are just the general messages you want to send out to your constituents right now?
The most important message that I think everyone needs to hear is that we really do need to stay home. The sooner we can beat this virus, the sooner we can kill it off, the sooner we can start the long, painful process of rebuilding our economy. People are struggling now. Even people that think that they're fine and they, may not have the virus, you may have it. You may not realize it, and you're spreading it. And the potential to overwhelm our healthcare system and to literally cripple our economy and our country is very real. Just look at what's going on in Italy right now and in Spain, for example. We need to be very serious about this. Stay home and self-isolate. Practice this business of social distancing, which is keeping yourself 6 feet apart from other people. These are all really, really important messages. I guess the other thing that I want to say too is that, the government is proposing some pretty sweeping supports, not just for individuals, but also for business, the Conservative Party, and we have certainly been advocating a number of proposals as well. My office has been, answering phone calls and emails and text messages. We've been in touch, literally hundreds of messages a day. And some of the things that I'm hearing from small business, and some of the ideas, we're making sure that those get into the mix. We're forwarding those ideas on to the leadership of the Conservative Party, and I'm sure that those are part of their discussions right now. We obviously, it's a significant part of our economy is the tourism industry, and there's been a couple of really, really, I think, quite smart proposals from the tourism industry. Among them is this concept of letting tourism-related industries, restaurants, hotels, resorts, those kinds of things, keep the GST they've collected so far for this quarter, so they don't have to remit that at the end of April. And also to open up a much larger loan facility to help some of these businesses remain solvent, and to administer that not through the BDC, which really isn't set up to deal with this volume, but through the actual banking system. So there's a couple of different ideas that have also been floated through this, through our party, and I'm sure, to the other parties as well. And so I'm those ideas are part of that negotiation as well. We want to make sure we get the help out there, because as soon as we get this virus under control, we need to get people back working again and rebuilding our economy.
And that was MP Scott Aitchison joining us from his Ottawa office. We appreciate him taking the time. We are going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back after this. Joining me from his home office is Mayor Graydon Smith. And Mayor, thank you very much for taking the time today.
My pleasure.
And I've seen a few pictures of your home office. Looks like you have quite a comfortable setup there. The view looks astounding.
It is pretty nice. I get to look out on a very forested little ravine, and the squirrels are busy.
So, Graydon, let's obviously we're here to have a bit of a serious conversation. And what is happening in terms of the town and the COVID-19 situation. So, I do want to touch down quickly on something. There's been sort of I saw last week there was some tension. You kind of looked a little frustrated with terms of people's decision making in terms of shopping and things like that. Pulled back on that a bit, but I think the message is still there. So tell me how you're feeling about that right now.
Well, the primary concern is about people's safety, their health, and their ability to access what they need at a time like this. And we certainly saw over the course of the weekend, especially, a real influx of people into stores and going around and getting other supplies. And part of that is because there are snowbirds returning, and part of that is because there are people using their seasonal residences. And I think it got misconstrued that there was some message that you shouldn't be here, and certainly some people took it as that. But really, at the end of the day, people just need to understand that there's a limited capacity of everything in a small town or in any small town, and that we need to make sure everyone's getting what they need, whether that's food, whether that's supplies, and whether that's healthcare. And there's a limited number of healthcare options, we know, in Muskoka, and a limited number of ICU beds.
Now, I know one thing I wanted to touch down on too is, you did mention snowbirds coming back. There's been a ton of conversation federally, locally, on snowbirds coming back and going shopping. I just want to hear your thoughts on that type of situation.
Incredibly frustrated. I think there's way too many people doing the wrong thing. And I'm not even necessarily laying all of it in their lap, because I know from talking with family members of my own that when people are coming back into Canada, whether it's an international flight or whether it's a land border crossing, they are not getting the message strongly enough that 14 days of self-isolation doesn't mean go do all your chores and then go home. And I realize that's difficult for some people, but that's the way it's got to be. And I don't know how many people have contacted me in the last few days, worried that neighbors and people that are, responsible, good people are making bad decisions for the community.
Now, Graydon, on the municipal side of things, I do want to kind of talk about what's happening with that. Now, I saw the good news that you are able to meet with other councillors still via, the video conference like we're doing right now.
That's a big step for us, because previously the government hadn't provided in legislation an opportunity for us to meet electronically and have those members count towards quorum. So we couldn't really have a meeting that made any decisions. We could have a chat, I guess. Now we can have a meeting. Now we can make decisions. These are unprecedented times, and the government acted quickly. That will allow us to get some business done. I don't expect our agendas to have the normal things on them that you would see if everything was kind of normal, but it will be a scaled back version, which allows us to get important and timely business looked after in a timely fashion.
Now, Graydon, a lot of communities, a lot of cities have started moving to states of emergency. Vancouver, Toronto, the bigger cities right now. Where are we in terms of something like that in the Muskoka area?
It's been discussed with all the municipal leaders and with CAOs. A municipal state of emergency is certainly a useful tool when something is happening specifically in a community, but may not be happening everywhere else. In this case, the province has declared the emergency, and everybody knows that it's happening. We could declare one tomorrow, I suppose, but I think it's not as useful or impactful at this point as it might otherwise be. And it doesn't really open up any tools for us that we feel we need at this time. That could change, and it could change tomorrow. But right now, our analysis of the situation says it would be a gesture more than it would be an effectual step.
You know, I have to mention, I mean, this is pretty much almost close to the time last year when we were under a similar kind of emergency in terms of flooding, and now we're under another emergency for a pandemic. How are you feeling about that situation? How do these two situations actually relate in your mind? And you know, are you able to use any lessons learned from the flooding situation in this situation?
Absolutely. I will tell you, I'm really beginning to dislike spring. It used to be one of my favorite seasons. But in all seriousness, I think what we've gone through in the past always educates us to what we're going to go through in the future. And we've tried to learn lessons from 2019 and even 2013 to be able to deploy them in situations like this. So from a communication standpoint, I certainly have a lot of information coming into me, and I try and deal with it as best I can. I try and get messages out to the community with clarity that have some reach to make sure that people are hearing what we have to say and what I have to say. And I think it also, for the community, they know what it means to pull together when there's an emergency because they just did it last year. And although we're not putting out the call, you know, for different kinds of manpower to do this and that, certainly from a standpoint of community caring and looking after one another, our community demonstrated that incredibly in 2019 and is doing the same again in 2020. The offers of help and assistance are simply outstanding and heartwarming.
Well, thanks to that, Graydon. And now to the business side of things. We have Brenda Rhodes standing by from the Bracebridge Chamber of Commerce. Brenda, these are clearly uncertain times. Now, I'm curious, how are the businesses in your chamber dealing with this?
Well, I think it's like you said, uncertain times. Businesses don't know how to deal with this. I don't think anybody knows how to deal with this right now. I think first and foremost, I want to thank the businesses that have shut down and made that probably excruciating decision to do so. It's in the best interest of us all, but it's needed, and we all need to be able to do that and stay home for those businesses also.
And Brenda, what is your chamber doing to support these local businesses right now?
Right now, we are trying to be that conduit for information. We're working with partners to make sure that we get that information out in a timely manner. And obviously, just waiting for the programs that are coming down the pipe from the different levels of government, and making sure that you get that information and that you understand how to apply to that. So that's our main goal right now. Also, we're trying to gather information. So through the Bracebridge Chamber, we've put a survey up, and we're doing it weekly. And we're asking businesses to let us know how they're feeling, what they're facing, and in return, what we're doing is making sure that on the provincial, the federal, and municipal levels are getting this feedback so we can make sure that we're supported properly.
So will there be some sort of plan put in place to help these businesses get back on their feet once we return to some sort of normalcy?
There will absolutely be something after this, but again, we don't know what we're looking at. We don't know the time frame, and I think right now it's just trying to make sure that businesses get that information right now and apply to those structures that are going to help them in the immediate time frame. And then once we get over that hump, then absolutely we'll be looking forward to creating something to make sure that we attract people and that we get those businesses back up on their feet.
Well, thank you very much, Brenda, for that update. We are going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back after this. Welcome back. Many local businesses are experiencing turmoil during COVID-19 crisis, including a Gravenhurst owner, Annette Gillian, who says she has had to make a few changes in order to stay open.
We've issued our records of employment as of today. They finally got through. We tried processing them yesterday, but I guess the site was crashing. But my bookkeeper confirmed that all of my records of employment have been issued this morning. So I have taken it upon myself to, as a food provider who still has lots of fresh inventory, to get it into the hands of people in need. I've had outreach from customers recently that have just come back from out of country travel that are trying to stay self-quarantined in their homes. So we are putting packages together for them, and we're being creative on how we drop it off to their location, practicing safe distances. So starting this week, starting yesterday, I'm offering my services to customers on a case-by-case basis, individually, because I'm just still one person. I have offered both online and a brief explanation posted to our on our window of services that I can offer, services such as ordering food through my supply chain and getting it to them. It just, you know, the needs kind of ebb and flow every day. And everybody is so understanding of distancing, sanitizing. They're being very cooperative in terms of the outline of the rules that I've set out for curbside service and leaving food outside the door so that we can minimize that. They're doing e-transfers to me so they don't even have to come into the store to tap and pay. We're just trying to be very creative. And again, each person is an individual and has individual needs. So we're just listening to what theirs are. But my commitment, at least for this week and likely going forward, will be to kind of continue this pattern at least for the next 2 weeks or while supplies last.
We're back to the break, but stay tuned for more after this. Welcome back. Now, just because early on centers are closed in Muskoka doesn't mean your kids can't still benefit from their programs.
Today I'm going to read The Very Hungry Caterpillar with you by Eric Carle.
Well, our early on programs have been closed for a week now. Suspended until April 5th at this time. And certainly we're all feeling it, and we're all feeling it different ways, but the staff are really missing that connection with the families. And when we came up with the idea of doing these video presentations on Facebook, it was one way to have some sort of virtual connection, which has really helped the staff get through this. And the messaging that we're getting back from the families is that they're absolutely loving it as well.
So what kind of things are you doing online then?
The staff have really found another forte. They are very creative in what they're coming up with. We've certainly done sort of the storytelling and the songs and things like that. We now have a daily morning yoga program that's running on our Facebook page, enough of that yoga for kids. And we have staff, I haven't posted some of these yet, that's going out in her sugar bush and teaching the kids all about tapping trees and what the sap looks like coming out of the tree and going through that process. We're likely going to have something like a virtual touch-a-truck with one of our staff whose husband's in the big trucking industry. So certainly trying to think outside the box and trying to make things exciting for the kids who are kind of limited to what they can do right now.
And so just remind people again what the Facebook page is and where they can find all this neat stuff.
Yep, Early on Muskoka is our Facebook page, and there'll be at least one or two new posts every day and right through the weekends as well, so that parents have something new and different to look forward to, and also some familiar faces from the early on programs as well.
And smile at the butterfly.
Looks like a lot of fun. We are taking our last break, but when we come back, I'll have a recap of some of the major headlines from today. Welcome back, and before we end out the show, let's take a look at some of the news making headlines today. On the local level, the Simcoe Muskoka District Health Unit announced 4 new confirmed cases of COVID-19. 2 we were given details about, with the infected in Orillia and Simcoe County. The other 2 we're still waiting to get updates on, but at this point there are still no confirmed infected within Muskoka or Parry Sound. And Trudeau took on an opportunity before the big budget bailout vote today to remind Canadians who don't need to be out to stay home. He also attempted to drive home the point that if you're returning home from a trip, this is not the time to visit friends or family or pick up groceries. You need to go home right away and self-isolate for 14 days. Meanwhile, Doug Ford reiterated that he will shut down any businesses that aren't considered essential before midnight tonight. You can find that list on our Facebook page, Your TV Muskoka. Ford also announced the reduction of electricity rates for the next 45 days to off-peak rates at 10.1 cents per kilowatt hour. You can continue to rely on updates from Your TV Muskoka daily, both on Cogeco News and online. We'll also continue to live stream these broadcasts so anyone in Muskoka with an internet connection can stay updated. And that is Cogeco News. For more information on the program, head over to yourtv.tv or connect with us on social media, Your TV Muskoka. Bingo will be running again tonight in Gravenhurst, so make sure to have your cards ready at 7 p.m. in Huntsville tonight, 7 o'clock in Huntsville. Make sure you have your cards ready. Remember, we are live at 5 Monday to Thursday, and from everyone here at Cogeco News, thanks for watching. Have a good night.